China, given its relationship with the United States, which is a very hostile, toxic one, China is not going to be constrained by the issue of U.S. sanctions on Iran. I think that Beijing is a country that is ready to do business with Iran on many levels, and like a number of other key players and major powers like India, it will not be constrained, and I think it won't let the U.S. sanctions regime on Iran get in the way of the type of relationship, including the type of commercial relationship that China would like to have with Iran. And I think it's quite clear that China has concluded that its interests necessitate some type of significant agreement or partnership with Iran along the lines of this now emerging agreement. Certainly, given that given Iran and its status as what I would describe as a regional power and a very significant player in the Middle East, I think that its ability to get a deal with what could be the world's next superpower will strengthen Iran significantly, both economically and perhaps militarily. And I think that certainly would have implications. It's something that will, I would think, raise some alarms among Iran's foes, certainly Saudi Arabia and Israel, among others, not to mention the United States. But I think that at this point, the best way to look at this deal with China in terms of its potential impact for the Middle East is that it will likely make what has already been one of the more key regional powers in the Middle East all the more influential and all the more strong. Because let's put it this way: if you sign a major agreement with China, that is inherently, automatically going to make you a more influential and a stronger player. This agreement, this China-Iran deal, I think it registers as a defeat for the United States because it represents a case of America's arguably two biggest geopolitical rivals, essentially concluding a major deal that allows them each to become stronger vis-a-vis the United States. And I think that certainly is it's a negative for U.S. interests, to put it mildly. And I think it shows as well that the U.S. is not in a position to prevent its biggest rivals from doing things to make each other stronger. I mean, to me, as a foreign policy analyst, I would argue that Iran is a country that needs economic support. It needs infrastructural assistance, and that means it certainly should welcome an agreement that enables it to, in theory, receive ample amounts of both economic assistance and, more specifically, infrastructural support. And China is arguably one of the most efficient countries at being able to mobilize the type of capital and assistance needed to implement that type of support in countries like Iran. So certainly, to be sure, many in Washington, many in Israel will think it's an awful deal just because it's a case of a top rival, Iran, getting a major benefit by getting all the support from China. And of course, in the U.S., China is persona non grata. China is arguably viewed with as hostile a lens as Iran is these days in Washington. And that's saying something because, as you know, there's not much positive sentiment toward Iran in Washington. So it's not surprising that many interlocutors in Israel and the United States would not like this deal. But looking at this from Iran's perspective, certainly from an economic perspective, this should be seen as a much welcome thing.